Today's video, I'll be talking about how business was conducted in the 20th century and how business is conducted in the present day. So, back in the 20th century, you had a producer, manufacturer, distributor, and wholesaler, retailer, and consumer. So, you had five factors in the distribution of goods. So that's why you had a lot of stores back in, in the 20th century, like malls, department stores, and stuff like that. But that all kind of changed when the internet revolution happened and broadband internet enabled people to sell stuff on the internet and ship it to people's homes. Before the internet, most of the time, if you wanted to get something, you had to go to a store to buy it. So, for example, when I was a kid back in the 1970s and 1980s, I would go to the local toy store like KB Toys, and I would go to KB Toys and buy toys, video games and stuff like that. You go to the Toys R Us, go to Sears, JCPenney, Kmart. And this is the only way we could buy stuff. Or go to Radio Shack, go to Babbage's Electronics Boutique or whatever. This is the only way we could buy stuff, and it was quite expensive because it had to go through 5 chains. It had to go to the producer, from the producer to the distributor, wholesaler, and retailer, and each one puts a markup on the product. So the more chains that it goes through, the more it's going to cost, basically. So those things were pretty expensive. That all changed when the internet revolution happened back in the 1990s. I guess starting from the mid-1990s. And when you had broadband internet starting from the late 1990s. With DSL and stuff like that. Cable modem. Companies like Amazon and others were able to set up websites. And they were able to cut the supply chain down a little bit more. So from the new model, you had a producer. We could call this retailer or wholesaler and consumer, okay? So the distributor is gone. The wholesaler is gone. So it's kind of like merged between one part of the chain. Actually, 2 parts of the chain are cut. So you have three chains. You had producer, retailer, wholesaler, and consumer. So this actually made products cheaper, and as a result, a lot of brick and mortar stores went out of business. The decline of brick and mortar started around the 2000s. So maybe the 2010s, you had the collapse of Sears, Radio Shack, Circuit City, and other major brick and mortar retailers, because they no longer needed a 5-chain supply chain. They just had reduced it to 3. But today we're seeing a little bit something that's a little more different. So now we have I call this a second stage, and now we just have the producer, the manufacturer, and the consumer. And Tesla Motors was the first one to kind of like pioneer this thing. They did so by getting rid of the car dealerships that would sell Tesla cars. So Tesla would make their own stores, or to sell their cars, kind of like what Apple did with their phones. You have the Apple store that sells Apple phones. The Apple website sells Apple phones, and I guess Tesla website also sells Tesla EVs. So you have the producer and the consumer, so you cut out the middleman. As a result, manufacturers could increase profitability, and if they wanted, they could lower the cost as well, because it costs less money to actually, it's more profitable for them. It's more profitable, so they could lower the cost of their products. So the trend I've been seeing recently, maybe a couple of years ago, was that a lot of the sellers on Amazon, eBay, and other platforms were basically the producers from other countries selling directly on Amazon and eBay. And that kind of like that decreased the cost, right? But however, if they sell on Amazon or eBay, they have to pay fees, right, to Amazon and eBay, so that would increase the cost of doing business. So another model is they set up a website like AliExpress was set up. There are others like Temu and stuff like that. What they would do is they would allow the manufacturers in other countries like China to sell directly to the consumer, which allows them to sell these products at a much lower price. So that's what I've been doing for the past few years. I've really not bought that much from Amazon or eBay or anything like that. If I wanted something, I would just order it on AliExpress, because I'm buying directly from the manufacturer, you see. So this would bring down the cost of products, stuff I need. I buy a lot of stuff on AliExpress, like electronic components. I even buy clothes from there. And a lot of the times, the Chinese factories that produce products for people who sell in the States or United States and other countries are getting the stuff from the same factory. So all they're doing is they're just putting their brand name on the product, like let's say the shirt or whatever, or the electronic gadget or something. They just put their brand on it. So it isn't like they made the product. They didn't manufacture it or anything like that. The manufacturer just makes, let's say, the TV box or whatever, but there's no brand on it, and the people who sell it here just put their brand on it. Or they make a shirt, they just put their brand on it. So it's the same thing, except you're just buying it without the brand. So it's much less expensive for the consumer to deal directly with the manufacturer, opposed to having all these middlemen jack up the price every time it goes up the supply chain. So I think this is going to be the future of business. This is happening in the video game industry as well, in software industry. Before, like in the 1980s and 1990s, if a software developer, whether they make application programs for computers or games or whatever, they would have to go through the 5-chain supply chain. So the producer would have to sell it to the distributor. Distributor sells it to the wholesaler and marks it up. And the wholesaler marks it up and sells it to the retailer. And the retailer marks it up and sells it to the consumer. So by reducing those chains, you could buy a product that costs much less. However, you're not going to get any customer support if you buy it directly from the manufacturer, you know, because let's say you bought something on AliExpress, right, or Alibaba, and something didn't work or something, then you're gonna have real problem trying to send it back there. Because first of all, they may take it back, but the cost of sending it back to, let's say, China or some other country is going to be very, very expensive. So you have to take that into consideration. That's the only bad thing about it. But the good thing is you're going to get a much bigger discount by buying it directly from the manufacturer. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.